I came here, it was important for me to come, and important for my family to come. My mother, Ethelyn, really wanted to be here. She's just not well enough. She's doing fine, but she's not well enough to make this long visit. But know that you are all in her heart, and she too wished to be here. And in part that's because we wanted to acknowledge what the open space community impact it had on our lives, on my dad's life, and in our lives, my life as a child growing up. My dad, if you had the chance to really know him or talk to him, you realize he was a complicated person. He was human. He moved through life like water, avoiding obstacles, navigating, sometimes very unsettled, sometimes very calm. And I think he moved through his life sort of in that search for something that gave him purpose, brought him joy. Growing up, we had a lot of stories about Liberia. My dad was assistant Peace Corps director in Liberia for, 1 or 2 years in the late 60s, early 70s, before I was born. But those stories permeated my life. And I know deeply hit that experience there, I know deeply influenced his thinking about his life and what community meant, and what it meant to be a part of this humanity. And I grew up with this message from him that in your life, you have one responsibility, and that is to make other people's lives better. Didn't really matter how, didn't matter when or where, but that use your life as a way to serve others. My dad had a knack for words. He had one of the best vocabularies of anyone I've ever met. And he was able to wield those words in a way that created fantastical stories that were able to connect people, were able to bring out points in people's lives that helped them understand that there was more that brought them together than divided them. And he would say, you say, well, Dad, what do you do? Like, what do you do, Dad? He's like, I'm a storyteller. I tell stories. When he started really coming together with Open Space, because Open Space didn't really start really until he was kind of like my age, like 40s, early 50s. And we would sit around the kitchen table, and he would kind of talk about what he was thinking. And we would laugh, because at the dinner table we would practice the 4 principles. Who's ever there are the right people. When it's time to start, it's time to start. When it's over, it's over. Whatever happens, could happen at the dinner table. And and certainly as a teenager at the time, I often practiced the law of 2 feet. It's okay. Where I would just kind of leave. I'm like, oh, Dad, just start talking again. Because he was my dad. You know, he went to my soccer games. He cheered for us. He taught me how to drive a stick shift car, not very successfully. He took me on a business trip to Venezuela at a time in my life where I really didn't know what I was doing, and he kind of brought me along, and I went to the meeting, and I realized as I was sitting there that he was wearing a shirt, that on the back of the shirt, it said in big black letters, "Go away." Because I wrote it on his undershirt, and he took it with him, and he wore it at this meeting. And so everyone could see through his white shirt, "Go away." And he did it, I think, not to humiliate me, which it kind of did, but to remind me to not take things so seriously, to have fun, even in the most serious moments. You can find joy. And this community, I think, helped him find joy. He delighted and wondered about open space, and he would always come back to the marvelous people that would attend open space meetings, who he had the luck and the good fortune to speak with and hear stories and hear about how they were using open space. He loved knowing how each of you and folks who are not here applied open space in their world, in their community. And he really did think about you all as family. And we had conversations about, family. What's family? There's your blood family, and there's the family you choose. And sometimes, I think he liked this family more than he liked his blood family. For his 75th birthday, I was like, Dad, we're going to celebrate your 75th birthday. What do you want to do? He's like, well, I'm going to an open space meeting. Okay. But it's because this community gave him joy, purpose, and I think also is really a place of healing. And I've witnessed that today in some of the conversations, that it isn't just about discussing deep ideas, it's also about healing yourself to be able to confront and take action for those deep ideas. And, my dad was very ready. My dad was ready to pass. He had said, I've done what I've come here to do. My life is complete. I've done what I've come to do. And he was ready. He was very practical in the lead up to his death. And he was very calm about it. He wanted to, he was peaceful. He died on his own terms. My brother was there. My sister was there.
As it should be.
Somewhat ironically, I was in Kenya. And couldn't quite get back in time. But I spoke to him when I arrived in New York, and he was ready. And so I think that's important. I want you to know that he was ready, and that he was with people who loved him. 2 days after he died, my brother Harrison and I, he died in Camden, in Maine, which was his favorite place. I was like, why would I go anywhere else? I'm in Camden. 2 days, after 2 days after his death, I said to my brother, Brother Harrison, my brother's name is also Harrison.
Junior.
Harrison, let's climb up Maiden's Cliff and just say goodbye. Maiden's Cliff, a hike that we would do often as children with my father. It overlooks Lake Megunticook, which is the lake of the summer house that my grandmother, his mother, bought, that he spent some of his childhood at, that he spent many of his last days at. And it is a place where he rests now. And so we started our hike up. It was a sunny day, in March, which in Maine can be very cold. The weather in Maine is kind of weird. But that day was sunny, blue sky. It's a great day for a hike. And we walked up, and as we walked up higher and higher, the wind started to blow, the temperature started to drop. to the point where we were standing overlooking the lake. It started to snow. And the snow, it was just swirling. And we stood there, and we brought his bells. And we stood there, and we hit them 3 times to close his circle. And then we started walking down. And as we walked down the hill, the mountain again, the wind stopped, the clouds went away, and the sun started to shine. And the blue sky was above us. And it's one of those moments where you're like, it's a reminder, his spirit is all around. And so I just, carry that with you, that his spirit is all around. And it can be called upon when you need it. And in those moments, in the meantime, keep telling the stories. Carry that forward, carry him forward in your stories. Someone was listening to a podcast the other day about death and how people create art so they can be remembered when they are gone. And I think my dad's art were his stories, his words, open space. That is what he has left us to remember him by. And he was very purposeful that he did not want to own open space. It was not his to own. It was not his to decide what it was and what it wasn't. That it was anybody who practiced it. That it was theirs, and that they should make it their own. And so, as you move forward in your practice of peace, and your efforts to continue to understand the world around you, and apply open space to do that, I just want to thank you, and acknowledge that you are carrying him forward. So it is with love and gratitude that I am here today. Thank you.